Well, thank you very much, Jim, for doing this interview. This is really great. As you know, the Austrian World Summit for the environment is very, very important to me. And so it's great to have you be part of the program.
Yeah, it's a really important thing that you're doing, and I know it's tough now with COVID and nobody can travel to generate some excitement and interest around this. But of course, you pulled together a lot of important people to discuss this, super important topic for our global civilization.
Right. Now, let me ask you, because I think most people maybe don't know, how did you become an environmentalist in the first place? I mean, because you talked to me about the environment way back when they didn't even understand what you were talking about. It was back in 1984 when you directed Terminator 1.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the thing is, I'm not an environmentalist in the sense that I have any credential or degree as an environmentalist, but I'm an environmental advocate first and foremost, and that's been since I was in high school, really, back in Canada in the 60s. I just grew up as a naturalist. I spent all my time out in the woods. I love nature. It was part of me. I was part of it. And then in 1970, with the first Earth Day, the environmental movement as we understand it today was really born, for the first time. And people started to realize that there was pollution and there was deforestation and all those things. And so I've tracked that into my adulthood. And of course, I'm a filmmaker and I'm a diver, and I spend a lot of time underwater, and I see the slow degradation of the oceans. I see the degradation of the coral reefs and so on. And that fueled a real interest in this. So I really began to study it in earnest, I would say about 10 or 12 years ago, like really focus on it and really focus on the solutions and make myself a sort of lay expert on it. And, so that's why I'm such a strong advocate now.
Right, right. And you have not been happy about the progress that has been made. None of us are.
No.
So the question really is that all of a sudden out of nowhere, you came years ago and you said, I'm not eating any more meat.
Yeah.
I said, what? You're not eating any more meat? And then you were explaining to me why meat is bad for your health and all that stuff, which of course doctors have said for years. So you have really been on that. And then you started talking and tying it into the environment. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think it was about the psychology of individual choice and what we can do as individuals to empower ourselves in this conversation, because there's a lot of bleakness. There's a lot of anxiety around climate. Some people feel crushed by it. Some people are in denial about it. Some people cling to demagogic leaders who tell you, don't worry about it, just roll over and go back to sleep. It's all going to be fine. And people are happy to have somebody tell them it's all going to be fine. So they just stop thinking about it. But I think the people that are intelligent enough to know that this isn't going to go away unless we do something about it, feel a deep anxiety. Like, what can I do about it? One person. It takes all of civilization to make these bad things happen with our energy use and our pollution and so on. What can I do about it? And so, first I was focused on renewable energy, and then I started to read more about the impact of our dietary choices on the environment in general, climate change specifically, but also ocean pollution, river pollution, deforestation, habitat destruction, all that. And the one thing that was in common from all those different bad things that were happening was our choice to eat animal products instead of living lower on the food chain and just eating the plants directly. I explained this to Rupert Murdoch. He was trying to figure out what this whole vegan thing was all about. And I said, it's very simple. The fundamental principle of business is you cut out the middleman, right? So the animals take a huge tax from us, from our world, for being the middleman between us and the plants. You take them out, you eat the plants directly, things get much more efficient. Like in terms of land use, maybe 10 times more efficient. In terms of carbon footprint for an individual, maybe a third, maybe a quarter of what you were. So I thought, aha, this is something everybody can do. Now, everybody can also change their religion too, but they won't. So it gets into now human motivation and human will and our ability to, process information and internalize it and do something about it.
Right.
So my wife and I did it. You've done it. You've gone largely plant-based, for health and for environmental reasons.
Right. Now, let me ask you, we're in a movie business. And in the movie business, I would say most of the people are kind of like real environmentalists and they talk about the environment and all this kind of stuff. But I don't really see their participation to be actively involved in the whole thing. Like for instance, when you are the only one that has built solar panels on top of your studio here in Los Angeles, south of Los Angeles. Yeah. But the other ones, when you fly over with the helicopter over Universal or Warner Brothers or Columbia or whatever, or Disney, there is no solar panels over the studios. Yeah. Although yeah. There's huge areas that you can actually, you know, blanket with solar panels.
Yeah, you know, we're not living in Alaska, you know, or some extremely cloudy place. You know, it's Los Angeles. You've got 320, you know, pure sun days a year. If you can't do solar there, you can't do it anywhere. And you've got these broad roofs. If you fly over LA, it's a very wide, flat city. You know, it's low population density, and they got, you know, hundreds of square miles of rooftops, flat rooftops, industrial rooftops. And I thought, and it was exactly like you said. I was flying one day. I was coming into LAX on an airliner, and I'm looking down and I'm seeing all these acres and acres and acres of these industrial rooftops and thinking, why aren't we doing solar? It generates power where you need it. You don't need these big transmission lines. You're generating it right at, and it's highly distributed, right? Well, of course, it's the utilities, and it's their lock on government with their powerful lobbies and so on. There's always somebody in the food chain somewhere doing better off of keeping things the way they are than allowing for change. But, you know, people like us, we try to lead by example. We try to live by example and, you know, walk the walk.
Right, exactly. You have been always very good in kind of writing about the future, you know, and predicting the future. I mean, hell, when you think about Terminator 1, all the stuff that we talked about became a reality.
Sure.
And so now the question really is, what do you see the future be when it comes to the environment? I mean, do you see that we can hit our goals and not have these huge increases in temperatures and stuff like that, or having continuous 7 million people die every year because of pollution? Do you think that we're going to make any headway here?
I think anybody that says they can predict the future, you know, is a liar. I mean, I couldn't have predicted in January where we were going to be today with this global pandemic. But I think that, you know, what I can predict is that we have a choice. We have a choice. We're smart. You know, we have this thing called consciousness. None of the other creatures in the animal kingdom have that ability to look at the future and plan against it, you know, or plan for it, I should say. So it's going to boil down to a lot of choices. And in some ways they're sort of political and they're philosophical. You know, are you going to accept what people tell you, or are you going to go to the scientists, and are you going to really vet those things that challenge your belief system? I mean, so many people believe. I think belief is a critical issue here in this choice. If you believe that climate change is a hoax because you've heard that from people that you believe other things from, without checking on it, without doing your own independent research, without seeing what the scientists are really saying, then you're going to make the wrong political decisions. And we see people doing that right now. And I happen to think that we're at a real pivot point in history. If we turn our backs on science, if we turn our backs on critical thinking that allows us to find out the truth of things, we're doomed. But we're smart, you know, we're also smart. And we talk and we do things like this, conclaves like this, where we talk it out. And there are certainly a lot of people that believe wholeheartedly in the science and are trying to do something about it. Unfortunately, not enough of them are in power right now. So the question is also a political question. So as much as we need to empower people to, to eat plants, to drive electric, to embrace solar, to do all of the various initiatives that they need to do, we also have to tell them to get out and vote and vote these assholes out, basically. Yeah. Pretty simple.
No, absolutely. Now, before I go, I just want to ask you a movie question, if you don't mind, even though I told you
okay, all right,
it's an
sure.
environmental kind of interview. But I mean, is there anything, I know you're in the middle of shooting Avatar. I know you had to get up now to do this interview because of the time change here in New Zealand and all that stuff. Tell me, is there anything newsworthy that we should know of? I mean, when is the movie coming out in the theaters and what's going on there?
Well, COVID hit us like it hit everybody, hit us hard. We lost about 4.5 months of production. As a result of that, we've rolled around one more full year for release in December of 22. That's been announced already. Now that doesn't mean that I have an extra year to finish the film, because the day we deliver Avatar 2, we'll just start working on finishing Avatar 3. So where we are right now, I'm down in New Zealand shooting. We're shooting the remainder of the live action. We've got about 10% left to go. We're 100% complete on Avatar 2, and we're sort of 95% complete on Avatar 3. So we're just, we're very lucky in that we chose this as our production site years ago. We made the first film here in New Zealand, and it turns out to be one of it's ranked either the first or second best country in the world for its COVID response. Sometimes Germany's in the #1 spot, sometimes New Zealand's in the #1 spot. But we're actually able to operate. We're at level 2 here right now, but we're able to operate, we're able to shoot, and we're able to have a more or less normal life here. So we were very fortunate. So I don't see any roadblocks to us getting the picture finished, getting both pictures finished. Other than that, I can't tell you about the story. I can't give you any big scoops. You're certainly welcome as an individual to come anytime, and I'll show you everything. But in terms of what I can release, I believe in the mystery and the great reveal.
Well, first of all, as you know, I have visited your studio and you many times during the shooting of Avatar.
Yeah, yeah.
I always enjoyed, I love the technology, and I love the way, how genius you work, and you know, the collaboration and all of this stuff. So congratulations on all that great work, and good luck with Avatar. And thank you very much for all the work you're doing for the environment. Thank you very much for this.
Hey, Arnold, it was great to see you as always, and great to see you with still a big smile on your face, making things happen in the world. From, right. I think, is that your kitchen?
This is my kitchen, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're still moving the world.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, buddy. All right, we'll see you.